The difference between imaginary friends and demons. I was 4 years old when first sexually molested. It started with a man working in my backyard asking if I wanted to be a good girl and make him happy. Yes, I wanted to be a good girl. It quickly turned sour. I felt awful. I had nightmares that night. The next day, he came back and smiled at me. He winked and my mother told me to give him a hug. He saw the fear in my eyes. He was angry, but we hugged. He went inside. My mother asked my father what made him so angry. I think I know how, I said. She scolded me and made me tell the man I was sorry for whatever I had done. He was happy then. I'm shocked how bad you are, he told me in private. You are a monster. Your mom will hate you if she finds out. You are a bad girl. Girls like you who make men do bad things get locked up. The police will come back and lock you away. The terror of the police chills me to this very day. I believed every word, convinced that I must be very, very bad. It had to be true. He was an adult. Adults know these things. Now you belong to me, he said. I was trapped. There was nowhere for a 4-year-old to run. Even mommy would turn on me if she knew my dirty secret. As a neighbor and family friend who also did maintenance work on our house, he had easy access to me. Time after time after time, he not only sexually abused me, he drilled it into me that what happened was my fault and that I was bad. Every time I rammed home to me, yet again the devastating conclusion that I was evil. Because as he kept insisting with unchallengeable authority, there was something about me I could never change. My very appearance, the body I was born with, that made him do bad things to me. Finally, when I was 7, he moved away. He's now in jail for other sexual offenses. At church, I kept hearing that God hates sin. I knew I was bad. Eventually, I felt compelled to the sad conclusion that God would not want me. I stopped talking to God. Ever since, my whole being has yearned to return to the wondrous times with God. If I only realized that God felt the same way. At age 7, I saw a pornographic magazine. All the photos featured just one man engaging in various acts with a harem of women. They were bad girls, but unlike me, they were beautiful. And someone had wanted to take pictures of them. Maybe I could become like them and have some sort of a future. I was so captivated that I stole the magazine. I hid it under my bed. I would stare at it over and over. So, this is what bad girls do, I told myself. And I knew I was bad. I yearned to be good. I wanted to be held and told I could be loved in spite of being bad. I would hide away, suck my thumb and curl into a ball, crying for someone to love me. In my mind's eye, someone came. He was kind and didn't care if I was bad or good. He introduced himself as an imaginary friend. But he was the man in the magazine. There was no way I wanted a grown man acting towards me the way he did in those photos. Terrified, I rejected him and hastily burned the porn. On a warm summer's day, I slipped on my swimming suit and went outside to lose myself in the sun. I was 12. To my acute embarrassment, I had been developing a womanly figure at an unusually early age. And I hated it. But I relaxed, enjoying the sun. In my mind's eye, I saw a kind, sensitive man. The imaginary friend I had seen after looking at the porn 5 years earlier. He said reassuring, flattering things that made me feel good about the body I hated. He was warm. He moved his hands over my body, caressing me and assuring me he was only imaginary. He guided my hand as I masturbated. It was the first time I had ever climaxed. The experience somehow felt morally wrong, but it was only fantasy. And what harm could there be in having an imaginary friend? Still, I felt unsure and rebuffed him. Deep down, however, I wondered if it had been better to just let him have his way. Knowing this, he merely stepped back and waited. Whenever I was lonely or hurting, I would seek him out. It was wonderful. I was safe with him. He said his name was Michael. He approved of me. He would come to me whispering love in my ear, and we would have sex. He introduced me to a couple of his friends whom I chatted, but he alone was my lover. With Michael, I now had 8 imaginary friends. One of them was his sister, Marie. She was sassy, delightfully wicked, and a dark horse. One day, Marie and I were alone. Her brother and friends were out, and we were playing an imaginary game of dare. She dared me to kiss her. I laughed, assuming she was joking. She wasn't. I told her I was loyal to her brother. She smiled and told me to kiss her. She didn't want to be kissed on the lips. However, she wanted oral sex. We laughed and joked about it, but then she removed her clothes. Go on, she urged. It's only your imagination. I did it. I thought it was fun. Together we entered into a secret world of cheating on her brother, Michael. Eventually I confessed to him. He only laughed, saying he loved me no matter what. He was actually pleased about it. Eventually, my dark secret that I was bad began to overwhelm me. I hated myself. Eventually, my imaginary friends, I was hurting and lonely. They were right. Life in this world is awful, and I was unlovable. They tried to comfort me, but I wanted them to be real. They were in another world, a fantasy world that I could join in death. All I had to do was to kill myself. They encouraged me not to die in vain. They said I should get revenge and hurt someone to release the fury and badness locked up inside. Terrified at the possibility of me actually doing what they were urging me to do, I realized I needed help. God is real. His love is genuine. He always wants me to do good. Me, who had been certain I was hopeless, too perverse to be ever accepted by God. He never puts me down. He never wants me to think of myself as bad or unlovable or a reject. Instead, he calls me his trusted daughter, his pure and holy princess. He continually liberates me and empowers me. In him, I have a true friend. Besides all this, I am now enjoying the indescribable fulfillment of seeing other people set free. As God empowers me to love and support dear people emailing me who have been tricked by demons. I know from bitter experience that there is no one so vulnerable to demonic deception as someone who does not believe demons could deceive him or her.